Oh, that sounds like karma. How much did I get? 10! Holy shit. First thing is give some to Sammy. Hello again, my friend. Let's talk about... how's Alexander doing, actually? He is adjusting... No. We've already spoken about that. Are you accepting donations? The work on our program has been a rousing success. At this point, we only have one more goal in mind to round out the year. I have been in negotiations with Herr Burgazi to lease another building in the Cruise Bazaar. The construction is much more modern and sturdy than our old shelter. Our people would be better protected here. In addition, the extra floor space would open up a host of new options for organization. Maybe like a baccarat table? One other thing, Phineas Irk. If we reach this goal, I would like to name the building after you. Deal! The Phineas Irk Pavilion! I don't know what to say. With this donation, we've reached our final goal. I will speak with Burgazi immediately and provide him with his down payment. The Phineas Irk Civic Center will stand as a monument to your generosity and care. Thank you once again. You have been a godsend to the poor of the Cruise Bazaar, and I will see to it that they know it. The Phineas Irk Civic Center has a nice ring to it. I am happy that you're pleased. You've more than earned it. Goodbye. Talk to my friend with the plastic legs. Something I can do for you? I wanted to hear more about the war. Lane grumbles and massages phantom pain in his synthetic legs. Damn it, why won't the world just let an old soldier fade away like MacArthur promised? You were military? Where did you serve? Back home with the Finnish Defense Forces, the Eiger Brigade. Lane clenches and unclenches a fist, either out of repressed anger or more phantom pain. His weathered face betrays nothing. The Russians fought to come at us from the north as well as the west. Through the Lapland, thinking us weaker there, they were wrong. And the snow was painted pink on both sides of the border. Tell me more about the Euro Wars. Doubt there's much I could tell you that you wouldn't have learned in school, that you should have learned in school. Russians invaded, hell if I can remember why. The world was more a mess back then than it is today, if you ask me. They attacked Poland and Finland first. Poland broke within months, opening the door into Germany. I had no context in Berlin back then, mind you. Can't really say how bad things were there. Here, so we're in fucking Berlin. Had battles of my own to worry about. Sorry, I won't bother you any more about it. Thank you. Anything else? Just checking in. I appreciate the effort you're making, but you've got some big shoes to fill around here. I try. Try harder. Time is not on your side. Nothing stays secret for long in the F state. The flux demands transparency. The truth will always get out, and the truth about Monica's death is now in the breeze, flowing through the streets of Berlin. Next come visitors of uncertain intent. Some may just be bottom feeders, sniffing after the leavings of the dead. Others will be hunters looking to exploit a leaderless tribe. We're all stepping up to fill the void left by Monica, fella. Well, not you. You can't really step up with your fucked up legs. The old troll rubs a thumb pensively against his single unbroken horn. You might have something there if you can keep that group together. There are trying times ahead. Seen it before. Too many times before. Anything else? Nah, see ya. See you later. Hi there. I'm here to buy. Tell me about your inventory. We have weapons from all across Europe. Ares, Seska, Fichetti, you name it. If it can be found on the continent, it can be acquired by Metbach Arms. Impressive setup. Let's do some business. Outfits? You have new outfits? Oh, I need some money one way or the other, so let's just head on back. Whoop. Obligatory hooker tip. There you go. We're going all the way back home. Let's talk to the gang. Hey again, boss. Need something? I was thinking about what you told me earlier. You said that your idol was going to make you pick a fight that you couldn't win. He shrugs. It's bound to happen eventually, probably sooner than later. Is there something that you can do to stop that from happening? Well, I suppose that I could refuse, but that probably wouldn't be a good idea, especially not now. Remember, boss, the Dragon Slayer is where my magic comes from. If I turn away from him, you'd better believe that he'll turn away from me. Besides which, I don't even know if I can refuse him anymore. He's been with me for so long, I don't know where he stops and I begin. He grins at you. Don't you worry about me, boss. I've known that this was coming my entire life. And when it happens, I'll go down in a blaze of glory the likes of which you can't even imagine. That's a promise. You can't really believe your idol wants you to commit suicide. Of course not, the Dragon Slayer doesn't want me to die, but he does want me to kill dragons. That ain't supposed to be safe or easy. It isn't my fault that I'm getting too old to keep up with his wishes. What if you were to pick a fight with a different kind of quote-unquote dragon? Maybe it's a metaphor? That's an interesting idea. If it were big enough and heinous enough, he might be satisfied. I've never tried to bargain or negotiate with the Dragon Slayer before. I'm not sure how I feel about it, and I don't know how he'd take it either. The Dragon Slayer doesn't like to be questioned, and his temper's even shorter than mine. But I'll tell you what, boss, I'll think about it. Any updates on your fucking friend, nephew, Alexander? Nothing new, boss. It's gonna take some time. Any thoughts about that last run? There was nothing about that run that didn't disgust me, what they did to that troll. He shudders. It wasn't right, boss, on any level. I don't care what anyone else tells you. Listen to me, Phineas Urk. What you did killing that thing, it was the right call. Yeah, it cost us some Nuyen, but letting that thing live would have been a travesty. That was not the proper way to end the conversation, but okay. Phineas Urk, what can I do for you? Do you trust me, Eiger? She pauses for a moment, considering. Finally, she nods. Yeah, I do. You've earned that much. I haven't always agreed with your decisions, Phineas Urk, but you've proven your competence. It's only fair for me to acknowledge it. Tell me what happened to your team, then. This again? Why do you even care, Phineas Urk? Because it's pretty clear that if you had your way, you'd still be with them, and a good leader places priority on knowing his team. She slowly nods. All right, I'll tell you. I suppose that you deserve to know. What happened to us was Hoffman. He was a rookie, the kind of some big-money corporate exec. The kid of some big-money corporate exec. He looked good on paper and made it through KSK training, so he was technically qualified to join a team, but he was way too green to fit in with ours. Still, he wanted to be heroes, and the family had enough clout to get him an assignment of his choosing. I don't know how many strings Hoffman's daddy had to pull to get him assigned to our team, but he pulled them. Hoffman became our 9th squad mate, despite Metzger's objections. Anyway, flash forward a few weeks. We were closing in on one of the Russian mob's major trafficking operations. They'd been using a series of warehouses 50 miles from the border as a staging area for their convoys. Women and girls from Eastern Europe were being housed there. When the convoys came, they'd be crammed into cargo containers and hauled across the border into Germany. Go to any brothel along the border and have a look around. Chances are you'll find at least a few girls who spent some time in those warehouses. Slovakians, Hungarians, Poles, you name it. The mob's been smuggling them over for decades, but we were in a position to derail their operation, and we weren't going to let our new addition slow us down. We hit them by surprise, and we hit them hard. Fisher and Braun managed to take down the Banshee that they had patrolling the site. Wolf had reconnaissance drones overhead providing Battletech feeds to the rest of us, and we picked off their gunmen one by one. They had numbers on us, but they didn't know where to hit us. We had eyes in the sky, and we had cover and concealment. Every time they thought they had a fix on us, we'd shift positions and hit them again. They might as well have been fighting ghosts. Then Hoffman broke cover and gave away our position, and after that all hell broke loose. Wolf went down first. The sound of it will haunt me for the rest of my days. An explosion, a choked scream, and then this long, drawn-out gurgling sound. When he died, his drones went down with him, and there were too many hostiles to track without them. I'll spare you the gory details, Phineas Urk. Suffice it to say that my team was wiped out. Eiger's face clouds again. You can see the tears beginning to well in her eyes. I watched Metzger die. With a visible effort, she clamps down on her emotions and calms herself. When she speaks again, her voice is flat. I took 3 rounds myself, had to drag myself back across the Oder-Neisse line into Germany. I almost died. So that's the story. My KSK career died with the rest of the team. Our mission was illegal after all, off the books. There was no going back for me, so I wound up here. She looks you in the eye. Her tone is impassive. Did that tell you everything you wanted to know, fearless leader? Are you satisfied now? I totally am. So tell me, what's your takeaway from my tale of woe? I figure that you have one. When Monica died, you blamed me because I was new to the team, but I'm not Hoffman. Yeah, I know that. And you're right to a point. I might have judged you too harshly because of Hoffman. But everything else that I said was justified. Giving you command of this team was a hasty decision made for the wrong reasons, and I stand by that assessment. But between then and now, I've been watching you like a hawk, and you've grown, Phineas Urk. You weren't the right choice to lead before, I still believe that, but you are now. Good talk! Until next time. Let's get some more backstory on Murderclaw. Glory's pallid face lights up at your approach. A genuine smile spreads across her lips. Phineas Urk, good to see you. You too! How are things? She pauses for a moment, considering. You know what, I'm happy, actually. For the first time in a long time, I have you to thank for that. Are you ready to tell me about that chrome you're sporting, then? Be patient, Phineas Urk. The explanation for that is coming. A look of unease flits across her face. I'm not sure you're going to like it, though. You needed time and I gave you time. Are you ready to talk about Fiercel yet? Yeah. Gloria looks troubled, more so than you've ever seen her before. Whatever memories she's dredging up must be exceedingly painful. I'm not going to lie, I haven't been looking forward to this, but it's time. Phineas Urk, look, I'm about to tell you some things about myself that might change your opinion of me. It's entirely possible that you're going to hate me based on what's coming up next. I've accepted that, and if that's what happens, I sincerely believe that I deserve it. She looks you in the eye, her expression grim. So tell me, are you sure that you want to keep pushing forward with this? Which one is talk to me right now? This is important. After everything we've been through, I think that we both know that. Whatever you tell me, I'm ready to listen. Thanks, Phineas Urk. Thanks for being a friend. So when we left off last time, I had just moved off the streets of Tübingen to the warm, inviting confines of Fürstel. Marta and I were happy there for a little while, and Harrow embraced me as a long-lost daughter. I should probably take a moment to talk more about Harrow. He's going to be an important figure in this story. I didn't know what his age was. He seemed old enough to be paternal, but young enough to hang with the kids on something like a peer level. Best guess, I'd say he was in his mid-20s. He was handsome and well-built, with a neatly trimmed beard and thick brown hair. And there was something else about him, something uncanny. Harrow had this charisma, this raw magnetic attraction that just made people latch on to him. I saw it over and over. All it took was a few words and a pat on his shoulder, and Harrow would have a new convert. The other kids at the farm followed him around like lost puppies. As much as I loved Marta, and as much as I thought she loved me, we all forgot about one another when Harrow was around. All that we wanted was to be close to him, to be part of his inner circle, and soon enough we were. For a girl of 17, it was all terribly exciting. Harrow had these rules of living that he would teach us, rules about self-determination, the importance of disobedience. He claimed to have taught classes at the University of Berlin, which he painted as a mix between an earthly paradise and an anarchist playground. He told us how Fürstel would be the focal point of a new movement for the children of the fatherland. He told us that we were special. We ate it up, of course. We were kids. For those of us in the inner sanctum, Harrow would share even more. He had power the likes of which I had never seen. Not my father's drunken fist or my own childish experiments, but genuine, incredible power. He said that it came from the horned god, an ancient deity that he venerated. He knew about my latent abilities right away, and he offered to teach me. Naturally, I accepted. This Harrow is beginning to sound a lot like a cult leader. You're not wrong there, but it gets a whole lot worse than that, as you'll soon see. Glory sighs. Hang with me, Phineas Urk, rough waters ahead. So I became Harrow's apprentice. He taught me to channel magic and summon spirits. He taught me rituals and pagan traditions, Machiavellian philosophy and Nietzschean ethics. Above all, he taught me to connect with his horned god, and through it I learned power and arrogance, and it was all downhill from there. For the next few years I lived at Fürstel as Harrow's enforcer and right-hand girl. I was also his sometimes wife and concubine, but that was a distinction that I shared with all the girls in the commune, including my beloved Marta. I came to learn that she'd been his long before she met me, but by that point I didn't care. I'd embraced the rules of living. I was Harrow's creature through and through. I didn't ask questions, and I walked the path that was in front of me. Other fun facts about those years. I learned cruelty. I had power now, and my new idol encouraged me to use it. Harrow did the same. Any children who didn't pull their weight were subjected to my tender mercies, and I was anything but tender. I took what I wanted rather than asking for it. I liked it. It was fun. I also came to learn that Harrow's horned god was not the Eiger first worshipped by throwback cults across Germany. It was certainly a god with horns, but it came from an altogether different tradition. Care to hazard a guess? I want to hear you say it. Satan, Lucifer, Old Scratch. In the magically active community, we refer to it as the adversary. Whatever you choose to call it, it's every bit as bad as it sounds. So my idol, the ancient deity that was feeding me my power, was the antithesis of everything that is right and good, and you know what? I didn't care. In our time together, Harrow and I committed more atrocities than I can count. At this point, I was on to all of his tricks. I knew that Fürstel was nothing more than a honey trap, carefully designed to lure local children in my master's clutches. I knew that the kids who seemed resistant to Harrow's brainwashing techniques wound up fertilizing the garden. I knew that Harrow's entire manifesto was bullshit, and I knew that through it all, Harrow and the adversary were laughing, because I was laughing right there beside them. I don't want to pin the blame for my decisions on anyone but me. That said, I would like to posit that my father's connection to the Kreutzritters might have helped play into my willingness to serve the adversary. In my warped, indoctrinated little brain, I equated the church with evil, so the opposite of that, I figured, had to be, well, if not good, then at least not totally bad. But I was kidding myself, of course. My new deity was the very definition of bad. Serving it made me bad. End of story. I can't excuse the choices you made, but I will do this last one. I disagree with you. I don't think any of this was your fault. I don't want to piss off Murder Claus. And what if he was indoctrinated into the service of the adversary when he was my age? Would he not be at fault anymore either? She shakes her head. No, Phineas Urk. Harrow certainly deserves some of the blame for what I became. Maybe even most of it, but personal responsibility has to come to the equation somewhere. I made my own choices, and they were horrible ones. I've accepted that, and you should too. Glory pauses for a moment to collect herself. She looks haggard and her pale cheeks are flushed blood red. She swallows hard, then presses forward. Anyway, one day, Harrow invited me on a field trip to Stuttgart. Over the years that I was at Fierstel, the commune had easily doubled in size. It was thriving thanks to the efforts of Marta and the girls like her. Harrow would send the girls out to neighboring cities to lure in the street kids that nobody would miss. He targeted children because they were easy to indoctrinate and because nothing makes the adversary happier than the corruption of the innocent. As we drove out to pick up the new recruits, I was already planning ahead. It was a foregone conclusion that I would pay my father a visit. The irony of a group of Kurtzritters getting immolated by a genuine servant of the actual devil tickled me to no end. So when Harrow stopped to fill up on diesel, I hopped out of the van and headed out on foot to my parents' place. Harrow wasn't overly concerned about my absence. I had long since reached the point where I could assert my autonomy, and he knew that I'd be back. I wound up at my folks' house sometime around noon. I could hear the adversary whispering in my ear, telling me what to do. I'd long since learned to listen to its voice. It always rewarded me with extra power when I did its bidding. It told me to knock, so I did. As the door opened, I could feel a torrent of flames welling up in the astral plane all around me. It told me to channel them into the doorway, into my father. So I did. But of course the person who opened the door wasn't my father, it was my mother. As I watched her flesh blacken and melt, I heard her scream and I broke into hysterics. I heard the adversary laugh. And at that moment I realized that it was laughing at me. Tragic but predictable. Glory nods, a grim expression on her delicate face. In hindsight, yes, you're right. It was inevitable that this would happen. I was a fool and a puppet, and any power that I thought I'd had was on loan from a being that craved my own misery. It was like a lever had been pulled all at once, the bubble popped. I wasn't a powerful servant of the adversary. I was not Harrow's #1 girl. I was a ridiculous little fool who'd willingly tied her soul to the worst thing in existence. Realizing all this was one thing. Actually fixing it was something else entirely. I realized that I had to get away from Harrow. That was the first thing to do, so I bit my lip and did my best to ignore the happy babble of new recruits on the trip back to Fierstel, and I managed to get through the ride without screaming. Once we were back at the commune, I broke into Harrow's safe, stole all the commune's resources, and ran. I don't know when Harrow realized what I'd done or whether he even cared. All I know is that nobody came after me, so I kept running and running until I got to Berlin. Getting past the wall was fairly simple. You know how easy it is to obtain falsified papers. The biggest obstacle that I faced during my flight was the adversary itself. I could run from Harrow, but how do you run from something that's tied to your own soul? Let me guess. Snip, snip? The haunted look in Glory's eye is heartbreaking. She gives you another curt, grim nod. I walked into the office of the first street doc I could find, pointed at all the biggest, bulkiest pieces of cyberware that he had on display, and told him to put them into me. He tried to upsell me on better merchandise, arguing that what I was asking for was old and inefficient, better suited to be installed in a museum than in a body. He told me that I'd be shredding my essence, and that once it was gone, I'd never be able to get it back. I stuck to my guns. After all, shredding my essence was the whole point. Glory looks up at you. Her eyes are sunken and hollow, and the aura of loss about her is palpable. She looks like a woman who's been through hell. That's all for now, Phineas Urk. You've heard the tale. You know why I am the way I am. You know the things I've done and how much I have to atone for. If you still want my company, fine. If I've lost your friendship, I understand that too. But for now, I need to be alone. Oh, you're always #1 in my book, Murderclaw. Check your inbox. Regarding salvage DVD... The screen flickers to life and Malit's face appears from the shifting background and ambient noise. It's clear that this message was recorded on a portable device. Hoy, Phineas Urk. Just wanted to tell you that I've met with limited success in working on that stack of DVDs. It's a thorny problem, but I'm making at least some headway. If you look on the table beside your DVD player, you will find another recovered disc. I wasn't able to salvage all of the files on it, but I think that you might find what I did recover to be of interest. For my part, I'm going to continue working on the other DVDs. To tell you the truth, I wouldn't hold out much hope, though. They're all badly damaged and suffering from disc rot besides. I'll be in touch. My best to you and the team. Payback is sweet. The screen flickers to life and Maxim's face appears. He is wearing a broad grin and you can hear the sounds of celebration in the background. Oh, hey! Hey there, Muscle. Not sure if Tuck gave me the right address, but I'd figure it was worth a shot. I don't know if you heard, but our favorite Poly Club got hit from all sides by the F-State today. It was glorious. Anyway, just thought you'd want to share in the good news, and thanks for your help back there. I don't think we'd have made it out of there without you. He raises a hand in salute. Take care, Phineas Urk. The message ends and the image fades. You find yourself back at the inbox. Regarding thanks. Alexander to Phineas Urk. Hey, Phineas Urk. Uncle Dietrich told me that I could message you here, so I figured that I should. He probably told you that I'm living at Samuel's, huh? No, you're living at the Phineas Urk Civic Center. That's where you're living. Well, that's where I am. It's different, I'll give you that much. I like that I don't get pressured to hurt people here, so that's good. And nobody smacks me around, even though I can tell that a lot of the Trog or the Orcs and Trolls want to. I do get yelled at a lot and called a lot of names, but I guess that making me feel bad about the kind of thing is all part of the plan. Life kind of sucks right now, but at least nobody is going to make me kill anyone. Uncle D says that it's going to get better, and maybe it will. I don't know. Anyways, what I mostly wanted to say was thanks for not killing me back at the Humanist compound. I had a gun on you, so you totally could have, but you didn't, and I'm really glad about that. Thanks, Alexander. Check the status of the Alice Fund. Current funds, 21,250. Required funds, 50,000. Okay. Let's go to the Shadowland BBS. Claim payment for pay data? Pending transaction sold. Humanist safe house data. Only 400 million. You fuck. Search BBS for relevant keywords. Massacre at Shot Nest Schoolhouse. Oh shit. Really attention-grabbing headline, right? That's how the local news has been spinning it. Truth is, the schoolhouse was abandoned years ago and was being used as a humanist recruitment and training complex. You're kidding me. A friend of mine was going there after class, and he said it was just a community center. I know none of you are fans of the humanists, but that entire chapter house got wiped clean. There were probably some kids in there off the street who were just looking for a hot meal. Screw humanists for exploiting them, but they didn't deserve death. You shut your filthy mouth. Good riddance to those assholes. Streets are a little safer now that they're all buried, that's right. Went trolling on the humanist board and that place was totally wiped out. Volker Stahl was in charge of that chapter house. Good riddance to that piece of dreck. Heh, just got offered a job to geek one of the humanists' lieutenants. Seems like Stahl is dead and a power struggle is already underway. You taking the job? Not my kind of work, but I gave the Johnson an address to one of your Tricks dead drops. Cheers, mate. Just finished up drinks with a chummer who was doing some biz up there. The real story is humanists did not want to pay for the services rendered, and some hired muscle went crazy and took them all out. That's me, I did that. So the muscle decided taking the whole place down would get the Nuyen back? Well, that's one way to make a living, I guess. Even if your friend did get screwed out of a bit of Nuyen, I don't think humanists would have been worth the bullets, especially that many of them. Save the F-State. The time rise up against the corporation is now. Fight for a free Berlin. You just followed up a time warp, the war is over, and we won. Hard to imagine Berlin any freer. Maybe you just need to switch to decaf. As long as any corporation is active anywhere in the F-State, we are all at risk. We must act. Corps are good for business and keep in their little corners. Why do you think we would help you? How naive to think that they will stay there forever. Don't you see that they're taking the freedom we all hold so dear? Plans are being made across the F-State. With the shadow community on our side, we shall prevail. The F-State has its own way of dealing with those who step out of line. Take your politics somewhere else. Around here, we've got bills to pay. Running on SK. Shice, what a thrill. Had to do a simple data steal on an SK branch office, turned into an OK Corral shootout. Never seen first response team arrive that fast in my life. Had a Decker off-site running damage control, managed to distract the second team to a different building while we jacked the car the first team came in. Lesson learned. Simple when it comes to SK means something else. You stole the Corp's response vehicle? Don't they have trackers on those things? Of course they do. Dumped it off the side of the road with a prime grenade in the backseat just to be safe. Nice one. Bragging about a nearly failed run at SK? Is this worth them paying a Decker to backtrace your Shadowland account? Any idea what valuable data they were hiding in that branch office? No idea. Money was too good to take any chances with it. Safely delivered it and the transfer cleared. Post pay data for sale? I have no pay data.